Calgary elbow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, the President of Kinder Morgan said that despite meetings between the Premiers and the Prime Minister, nothing has changed in the past 10 days, and their project remains untenable. To the Premier, now what?
The Honourable Premier.
Yeah.
Kinder Morgan's untenable.
Oh.
Deputy Premier.
Now what is that we're continuing to move forward on three fronts, Mr. Speaker. The fronts being that we are willing to take a public stake in this project. I wish the members of that party would say the same. This is so important. It's so important to the people of Alberta and of Canada that we can't threaten to have a board from Houston potentially impact our future, Mr. Speaker. And that's why we have taken this. We've also taken legal measures to be able to control the taps. And if I were in the Lower Mainland filling up today at prices above $1.50, I'd be really worried about what might happen when this bill is passed, if it has to come into play, Mr. Speaker, if their government doesn't get out of the way and let us get our product to Tidewater. That's what's happening, Mr. Speaker. We're fighting for this project and we won't back down.
First supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, Kinder Morgan is legitimately concerned about their ability to get this project built in this political environment. But it is that very same political environment that the Premier may force Albertans into by potentially buying the entire Kinder Morgan pipeline. Again, to the Premier, if we do buy into this project, what makes you think that your government will be able to succeed where Kinder Morgan, a company that does nothing but build and operate pipelines, looks like they may fail?
The Honourable Premier.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said to the member opposite when we were in estimates yesterday, there are certain parts of the conversations and the negotiations that are going on right now that need to stay at the table in order to make sure that we get the best outcome possible. Suffice to say, the question raised by the member opposite is one that we have already taken into consideration. As he knows, the federal government has already talked about moving forward with additional federal legislation in order to address some of those matters. So, Mr. Speaker, we are very confident that we are putting together the capacity to make sure that the pipeline can move forward.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I sincerely wish things would stay confidential because about 10 days ago, when news about the troubles with Kinder Morgan came out, the Premier, frankly, overreacted. She immediately talked about buying the entire project to the point of purchasing the whole thing. She said it is too big to fail, which very clearly jeopardized Alberta's negotiating position on this project. To the Premier, why did you negotiate in public? Is there any scenario where Alberta will take a lesser stake, or are we boxed in already committed to buying the entire project?
The Honourable Premier.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. First of all, there are multiple scenarios that would not involve us buying the entire project. I can assure the member of that. But the fact that I outlined the fact that Alberta was now prepared to consider taking a public position in the pipeline if necessary was a message to BC that they were going to be dealing with a much more determined set of investors if they thought that that was the strategy that was going to work for them. And to the member's previous points, let me just say this. You know, you can't bargain well when you walk into a car dealership if you tell them how much money you're going to spend, but on the same hand, if you never walk into the dealership, you will never buy the car.